before, as in last week or the week before, you would know that the first activity is for us to fill out the poll, that we can know exactly who is here, and that we can tailor our presentation accordingly. So again, greetings. And before we jump right into it, I want to ask you to do the poll for us, okay? Thank you. David, Marie, sort out?
Not yet, still working on it.
Okay. Advertising, gift and crowd. Publishing. All right, guys. We're gonna go ahead. Again, greetings and good morning, and welcome to the third in our series of JBDC in concert. Has been going very well for those of you who have joined us for the first time this week. It has been going really well. It has been really awesome, and we thank you so much, and we're humbled by the response that we have been getting from you guys who have been participating week in, week out. Just some context, quick context for those of you first time in the session. In this COVID crisis time, it's important for us to keep focused on developing our craft, developing our business, especially as creatives. Creatives have been hard hit because our access to any kind of audience, whether it is in a storefront or whether it is the thousands of persons in front of you, or whatever, has just been curtailed, cut one time. So it has been hard hit for our creatives. So we at JBDC, we have a passion, as you know, for creative industries, and we have been working with the creative industries entrepreneurs for many, many years. So we decided that we needed to do a series of sessions focused on enabling our creatives to maximize this time period, to see how we can earn while we are in this time period of the COVID crisis, and also even to work on our own business itself while we're in this period. So it's very, very important for us to ensure that we come out, we emerge out of this period far more resilient than we entered this period. And we believe as well that our creatives are really the bedrock of sustained growth and development of our country. We believe that if we get it right in terms of monetizing our creatives and our creative industry, there is no stopping Jamaica. And we have believed that for quite some time as JBDC. We believe that this is the industry. These are the industries that we really have significant competitive advantage. And as such, if we get it right, if we're able to measure the impact, if we're able to get the monetizing right, we will be unstoppable as a country. We firmly believe that. So we have decided to do this series of sessions. These are not webinars per se, these are sessions. The first one, we focused on how it is that we could monetize some of the talent that you have, or some of the things that you don't even realize that you have that can be monetized online in this period. Last week, we focused on speaking a little bit, drilling down a little bit more in terms of what kind of tools you would need to have at your fingertip to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that the digital economy has provided us. In other words, drilling down to really how it is that you develop a social media strategy, for instance, and how it is that you can pivot and leverage all of these technologies to allow us to monetize in this period, and if we're not there yet, how it is that we can develop our businesses and develop our infrastructure such that we become much more capable of being able to maximize benefits from the digital economy. So that's what we spoke about last week. This week, we're turning the focus on building your brand. Because the truth is that it's one thing to say that you're going to go online and you're going to execute all the social media strategies and things of that nature. That will not be effective unless you have been able to build a brand. Build a brand that engenders followers, that engenders likes, persons who are interested in what it is that you do, persons who want to be a part of your community. So in order to do that, really, it starts out by really building a brand. As small and micro businesses, especially creatives, our currency is really our brand. Our currency is our brand. And when we develop a brand properly, and when we maximize the value of our brand, 70–80% of the work is done. Yeah. The reason why we follow a particular product is not only about the product itself, it's mostly about the brand and what the brand says to you. So it's very important for us to be able to know how to develop your brand, and then be able to strategically leverage that brand for monetizing and for sustainability and profitability and everything there. So this is what this week is about. And we're very excited, and we have a solid panel of persons who are going to speak to you this morning, and then we're going to open for discussion. David, can you share the poll results with everybody so that you know who is in the room? Just a quick summary of the poll. As you'll see it, most of you here are owners of businesses. Some of you work with government. The ratio of female to male getting more and more stark every week. We don't know how we're going, man. Gentlemen, we need to talk to our brethren them that we need so that we follow the footsteps of our female counterparts, female entrepreneurs. Let them come and participate and learn and so on. So 88% of you are of you are women, which is great. I enjoy that. In terms of the age group, most persons here are between the age of 35 and 44. And in terms of where you are, in terms of what industries, I'm seeing gift and craft having the highest number of persons, but there are representation from all the other areas. I don't see any musicians here. I don't performing arts, yes, dance, theater, and so on. Anyway, I don't see any musicians, which I have a problem with, but that's another story. So literature, design, visual arts, gift and craft, that's good. Advertising and marketing, fashion, culinary, festivals and fairs, you're all here. So again, greetings and welcome. A special shout out to all of you who have joined and are living in St. Catherine. We know it upon lockdown, but don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. This too will pass. This too will pass. So we're gonna jump right into it. So I told you we have a panel of really experienced persons and real persons who are just completely knowledgeable about this thing and persons who are living it to talk to you this morning. And we're happy to have the group of panelists that we have. First up, we have a Bresheh of mine who, but apart from being a Bresheh of mine, that's not his credentials. Really, he has emerged as one of Jamaica's successful young entrepreneurs in recent past. But that's just his journey. He has built a very successful business, Point Global, that focuses on providing marketing solutions, branding solutions, and they have businesses and branches in Jamaica, Trinidad, and is it New York or the United States? I'm not sure which state they're in, and Europe as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome to speak with you this morning, our good friend, Javette Nixon from Point Global.
Javette. Thank you for the kind welcome. Hi, everybody. Firstly, in these times, I just want to start off by saying I hope everybody is being safe and observing the guidelines that have been issued by the government and international health authorities. This is a time for these kind of discussions. So I also want to thank your team, Harold, and everybody involved in putting this together to ensure that we can add value and use a little bit of downtime or at home or where we're not as active on the road to kind of reflect and reposition and see how we can repurpose our business, our brands, and ensure that we are ahead of the curve when all of this has come to an end. I want to start off a little bit by talking to you a little bit about my journey first, and then I am going to set the stage by defining in how we look at brands and how we define brands at Point Global. And then I'll talk a little bit about a tribe and what this argument is around a tribe. And there's some very important literature out there on it and how you build tribes, especially in this time. And then I will go into areas of really tactically what needs to happen if you're building a brand. And then I'll close with how do we use our brands to actually build tribes and what that actually means. Hopefully I am able to do that in a short period of time. And give a lot of value as well. So I'd want to kind of start off a little bit by telling you how I became an entrepreneur and how I became an entrepreneur specifically focused on emerging businesses. So I grew up in St. Thomas, and my mother, basically my entire family were entrepreneurs. They were farmers. They ran their own small shops and businesses. So I grew up in a very entrepreneurial environment. I grew up with entrepreneurs around me. But I initially took a very different path. I went to the University of the West Indies. I studied economics and political science. I started working in corporate. And when I was 23 years old, I got a very good job at EdgeChem Jamaica Limited. I was in charge of marketing and exports market. But a conversation one evening with my mother kind of shifted my journey when she was talking about her own business and the struggles that she was having in her business. And I was sitting there and I was thinking to myself, here am I, she sent me to school, did all of this. What is out there for small emerging businesses? How are we supporting them? How are consultants working with them? So that started a process of me looking at what are the resources out there from a marketing standpoint, from a consultancy standpoint, for small and medium-sized businesses. And that's how the idea behind Point Global was built. So it's really, our core principle is on this notion that emerging businesses, if given the right tool, have the ability to be extremely successful. And what we need to do is, in a cost-effective way, which is easier with technology, such as social media and all that, build and ensure that these businesses are successful. And that's kind of the genesis of where I started. We're now 9 years on, and since then we have worked with over 300 businesses globally. We have worked with businesses as far as Qatar. We have worked with Wisynco, JP Foods, Mabe International, a plethora of creatives, and Barclays all in board. A lot of businesses are refining and they kind of ensuring that they have a core strategy going forward. So over the years, I've kind of learned a lot from working with these businesses, as much as I've learned from actually studying marketing in an academic sense. And one of the things that is clear is that marketing is both art as well as a science. It's through the art and through the science that we arrive at really compelling brands. But in a very simple way, to define a brand is a promise, a brand is an experience, a brand is an enduring asset. So it's when people say, what is your brand? What they're asking really is, what is the promise that you're making to them? What are you delivering? What is the experience that you're delivering? What is the enduring value that you're contributing? A definition that I really love is one that says a promise wrapped up in an experience, and that's what a brand is. Now, that hinges on what a lot of people see are called our perceived value. It's about what is the value that as a creative, as a business owner, you're delivering to your target, the people, your tribe, the people are a part of your community. What is the value that you're conveying to them? In the Point Global sense, value for us meant being ruggedly clear about how we impact small businesses, and for us, we define that very specifically. And when you're building brands, the key is to be as deliberate in looking at who you're giving value to. So it is just to be laser focused on ensuring that you're providing value to a community that is in need of that value. So if you're, a lot of persons think in order to be a successful brand, what they need to do is ensure that they find the widest possible markets to address every concern necessary, to be the loudest, to spend the most, to be as visible as possible. But what brands like Harley Davidson, Apple, Mercedes-Benz in Jamaica, brands like Bresheh, Bridget Sandals, and those brands have done is actually go narrow and be so valuable to a community that community stays with them and helps them to promote their products and their services. And this argument is actually one that was put forward by a guy called Kevin Kelly in a book called Forward, 1000 True Fans, where he basically documented like really most people, especially in the age of digital, really just need to connect with 1,000 people who really understand the value that they are giving to customers, and then using that value and becoming evangelists for the product or the service. So if you think about branding in that way, you realize that to really define a brand properly, it's really around less of what is happening at the mass market level and more about your own authenticity, your own value, your own, what you can give the world in a curious way. And one of the other persons who have kind of took that Kevin Kelly 1000 True Fans message and kind of ran with it is a guy called Seth Godin. And he came up with the idea of the tribe. And what the idea is around how do you lead people around common values? How do you lead people around what is your value that you're trying to convey to a market? So, for example, if you are a manufacturer in Jamaica and you're passionate about creating, say, like vacation experiences, how do you find and connect with other people that have the same passion in a very narrow way and convey authenticity and convey value to them that they can help you to push your message? How do you convert them to true fans so that they will support the cause and of that you're impacting? So this idea of a tribe is to say each stage of our development as business owners and as entrepreneurs requires a different set of skills. And in the age of the internet, in the age of the digital space, it has democratized the position that all of us has in society. So the expert will only be an expert if they are true to the values that are important to them, because everybody can find general information. So the idea of this generalist is becoming redundant in the age of the technology and all of that. So in order to remain relevant, and we see that with what's happening with jobs and all of that, what needs to happen is that we need to find our true north, our true passion, and express that in as clear a way as possible, and find people to support that. And if you find people to support that and you are clear, you're authentic, you're not a me too, so you're not trying to copy something that you see that is successful. You develop value to your community, you develop thought leadership, and you develop you develop strong brands as a result of it. How am I doing on time, by the way? So what I want to do is, as we do a time check, is kind of just go through, and I'm going to share my screen a little bit for 2 slides to kind of talk a little bit about some of the things in a more practical way of kind of what happens when you're building a brand. And everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so there are 2 important components. This is from a practical standpoint where when you're looking at a brand that you should be thinking of. And I want to focus on these things. Obviously, there are other elements to this, but I'll focus on these things specifically. When you're building a brand, beyond being laser focused on one, the value that you're proposing to give, the experience, and being authentic, meaning that this has to be something that you have a clear passion and a clear focus on. If you're a creative, a good example of this is when Bob Marley was doing music. The most popular music at the time wasn't reggae. The most popular music was the Motown sound coming out of the US. And if you look at Bob Marley before he was a Rastafarian, he did a lot of that music, but he became successful being true to what he is and who he is. So the idea of successfully building a brand happens on the fringes. So it's about authenticity. It's about delivering not necessarily what the mass market would want, but being laser focused and adding value to who we are trying to represent. But having defined that, you have some things that you need to do practically. Now, the first set of these things are called brand elements. So this looks like what is the name of the enterprise? What is the name or what are you coming to the market? What are you saying it is? For example, people often ask me, why is Point Global called Point Global? But the name of Point Global is actually an ode to what I want to do. The point of my business is global marketing. So every time I say the name, it's a reminder to me that the value that I am trying to give to emerging businesses, to say the point of my business is to provide global marketing services to emerging businesses. And I put the name global because we operate in a global world. Regardless of where we are on the internet, you can find somebody who's doing something similar to you. So if you're not global in your mindset, everything global now is local and everything local is global. So you have to have that in the mindset. So even in the name of your enterprise, you have to think about it from that standpoint and say, how does it reinforce the value that I'm trying to convey? So that's what I mean when you're looking at brand elements, your logos, your symbols, your URL, the characters that you use, the signage that you use, the packaging, the jingles, the slogans. You have to use these things to reinforce the community and to support the community that you're trying to be a part of. And this is super important when it comes on to being true to yourself. For example, if you're a vacation company that is focused on, say, South Trelawney, and it's a community-based project, you'd want to ensure that you are using elements that point to that focus. And quickly, brand components. So brand components are like positioning statements, which should be written. This is how I'm positioning my brand. Your brand promise, this is what I promise to always do. For us, that is, for Point Global specifically, that would be to add value to emerging businesses, whether that they're paying us to do so or not. Every time an entrepreneur sends me a message online, I reinforce my brand promise by trying to convey some value, by being helpful to them. What's your brand personality? Is your brand helpful? Is it curious? Is it a feminine voice? Is it a masculine voice? Is it a assertive voice? Is it ironic? So you have to look at brands almost like people. What would your brand say on Twitter if they saw something that is in line with your industry? You have to think about it in that way. And your brand story. Now, one of the most powerful things in the era that we are in now, and the era of the web and social, is, are you clearly conveying the story that you want to convey? Your heritage, how you develop. Why did you do this? Why did you become a bee farmer? Are you clearly doing those stories? Telling those stories. And I encourage entrepreneurs to sit down and write down your brand story. Write down reasons why you do it. Question yourself. Because especially brands that are trying to pay premium, what is the compelling thing? Absolutely clear and compelling brand stories. People understand why you're doing this, and they support you because they see a value reflected in it. And finally, the brand associations. and I'll talk a little bit about brand association. Now, the brand is in the middle. Whatever you're doing, the value you're creating, it's in the middle. These items are basically reinforcing aspects of the brand. Your tagline, the font, the colors, the imagery, the logo, the name reinforces aspects of the brand. And as it reinforces the brand aspects of the brand, it becomes brand associations. So it conveys the brand trait and conveys the brand statement. And as a result of that, you're able to convey what you're trying to convey. Now, I want to jump quickly into like, how do you build tribes? Because that is a question you guys have asked me to address. Now, if you remember, I spoke about the fact that really, when you're building a brand, you need to go as narrow as possible, right? Because you need to add value. You need to add complete value to the group that you're supporting. So even if things are popular or trendy, or you have to sometimes say no to those things, even if they look profitable in a short-term way, if you're trying to build a long-term strategy, and brands have to be a long-term strategy. It takes a long time for brands to be built. So if you're all over the place, you won't build the brand, because it will send mixed messages and people will be confused about who you're trying to add value to. So it takes a while. So if you, having done that, having said, look, who I'm supporting is small business, or who I'm supporting is Jamaican manufacturers, or who I'm supporting is people who are doing reggae music, or who I'm supporting is TV and content from Jamaica. You have to be laser focused on that and ensure that you're communicating value to the persons that you're working with. Now, beyond that, there are some actual other things that needs to happen in building a tribe. You have to ensure that it's less of a megaphone mentality, meaning you're screaming at them, and more of a exchange of value, a community. Leadership now is leadership in ways it was back when we were in a hunter-gatherer society. The person who is more persuasive, the person who is seen as adding value to the tribe or adding value to the community, are the persons who people are following, regardless of your credentials or whatever, because everybody can get access to information. So you have to go beyond just saying, oh, I am this, come to me, and convey value on almost a daily basis to people to ensure that they are a part of your community. And you do that, and not only do you ensure that you're relevant to them, but you also get a lot from the community in return. The other thing that is important in doing this is basically using thought leadership. And how you do that is by ensuring that your expertise is given as a product or as a part of the community. You share it, you give it away. So the people who are leading the process of building tribes now are people who are willing to give more value. It's almost constantly asking themselves, what else can I give to my community to be of benefit to them? Can I write a blog about how do you monetize content online, for example? Or do I need to put a course together? But it's less about what I can get and more about what I can give. And when you start giving, you realize that community gives back to you. And that's how success happens in this age. It's about being committed to the community and being curious. It's always trying to understand what is the trends are within the community and being really a part of the movement and all of that. I love this phrase by Seth Godin where he says, Bob Marley didn't invent Rastafari. He just said, follow me. By embodying everything that it was about. the Beatles, when they took over the US and pop music, never invent pop music. Our teenagers, they just said, yeah, we will embody what you represent and stay authentic to that. The Picasso didn't invent art. Beethoven didn't invent music. These people stayed true to who they were and gave access to themselves and gave themselves over the community, to the community, and just gave value. And in a time where the platform has flattened really, and if you can write down an idea, you can make it happen. What needs to happen is you are giving your own over yourself to the community, and ensuring that you go full on in the process that you're a part of. The other thing is, everybody has a cause that is passionate, that they are passionate about. It doesn't matter where they sit, they have a cause that is passionate about. Some people are indifferent to the cause. A lot of people are in the middle, and those people in the middle are indifferent to the cause. Change happens on the fringes. So the change happens on the fringes because people are looking for leadership. So if you're the thing, what you are trying to do when you're building a brand is create change. It's put something, it's disturb the space that is not there. And as a result of that, you have to find the discontent. You have to find the thing that makes people unhappy in the community that you're trying to serve. So if you're doing women's slippers, what about women's slippers now do people have a problem with? And go to that fringe. Go to that fringe element. What about Randy with Bresheh blow up the place with his bags? He had to recognize that there was something missing, authentic Jamaican product of high quality in the space, and decided to satisfy that. Randy didn't invent bags. Bags are there all the time, but he put it in a way that was different, was authentic, was an expression of who he was and his surroundings and his family and all of that. And then because of that, people said, you know what? I love this. I'm going to join this tribe. I want one. And when you are able to do that, what happens as a result of that is other people join the tribe. And as a result of other people joining the tribe, they tell other people about it. The first thing somebody tells, the best voice for your brand is somebody saying, you know what I just did? I got that, or I experienced that, or this happened to me. And when the only way you know if you're providing value is by doing that and being that person who people will say, you know what, I experienced this. I bought a Bresheh bag. I worked with Point Global before. They are fantastic. That is the biggest mouthpiece for the expression of your brand.
I'm gonna ask you to leave it there for now, and then we certainly we have a whole we have invoked lots of thoughts in persons and for them to ask questions accordingly after. Thank you so much, Javette. As you realize, Ken is extremely passionate about this thing and can go on for 3 hours straight. so thanks a lot, Javette. The next person that we're going to ask, the next guest that we're going to ask to share with us this morning is known as the PR girl. She's known as the PR girl. She's a communications specialist with over 20 years industry experience in Jamaica, in the US, and the UK. And by the way, as we speak, she's now in New York. So keeping very, very safe. She has provided communications, marketing, and business development support to public personalities, in creative industries, business executives, etc., and private sector clients across industries. So she's also a personal coach who trains entrepreneurs, creatives, public personalities, and professionals. And she is also a pastor. So welcome, Marie Berbick, to share with us this morning. Marie.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Good morning, Mr. Davis. Thank you for the warm welcome, and hello to all the presenters and to the persons who are participating. A pleasant morning to you all. Mr. Davis mentioned that I'm in New York. I'm locked away in my apartment We rarely go outside unless it's absolutely necessary. But I'm praying that you're all keeping safe in Jamaica and taking this thing seriously, because it is serious. All right. With that said, it is a pleasure to be with you and to be able to be a part of this panel this morning to speak to you on personal branding. Javette would have taken you, into depth with regards to branding as it relates mainly to maybe products or services. What I'm going to be looking at in the little time that I have here is you as a brand, a personal brand. So I'm going to just give you a brief synopsis of what a personal brand is, some of the key elements of personal branding, and then I'm going to show you how the personal brand can affect your business. All right, so in terms of personal branding itself, a definition, how I would state this is personal branding really speaks to identifying your unique gifts, the skills, the talents that you have, and packaging those skills, those talents in a way that helps you to market yourself effectively to all your stakeholders. And the difference with you as a personal brand or pushing a product from a business perspective is that with personal branding, everything you do becomes part of your brand because the brand is you. We're looking at brand you. Now, just about anybody who I've always said is ambitious. If you have skills, you have talents that you want to share, you know that you can make a difference in your industry. So you can create a personal brand for yourself. You can market yourself as a brand. And over the years, I've assisted different persons in different industries, but I would say that the persons who can benefit from a personal brand, I'm just going to give you maybe a few of them, including creatives, persons in the creative industry who are seeking to grow their careers. That could be performers, etc. If you're a singer, dancer, it can be executives who really want to stand out from everybody else in the company, because sometimes you work in organizations and you find that there are some people who are just different in terms of their drive. They are different in terms of their achievements. They have like a spirit of excellence. So they may want to set themselves apart by establishing themselves as a brand. And it can also be used by professionals. You could be a doctor, you could be a teacher, a lawyer, whatever you are in terms of your talents, you can still benefit from, just creating a personal brand around that. It could be an entrepreneur starting a business, for example, like Randy. You have entrepreneurs who, it's not just about putting your products out there, but you create a strong personal brand behind the products. And it can be used successfully by, public personalities, by consultants, people who offer consultancy services like myself. You can develop a strong personal brand around that. Now, there are certain elements that I've identified over the years in personal branding. And I'm going to just name 3. One, the first thing is that the key elements, the first one is that you are the product. As a personal brand, the product is you. Your personal brand, it takes into account your expertise, it takes into account your skills, your talents, your gifts, and listen keenly, your story. Every successful personal brand has a story. The next thing is your mind. It takes into account how your mind works, the way you think, how you approach things, what makes you unique. It also looks at your image, how you package yourself, how you present yourself, your dress, your speech, your actions, the people you associate with. And it takes into consideration your reputation. And this is developed from your image and from your target market's experience with you, with your brand, whether you deliver on the promise that you have made. All right. So in developing a personal brand or creating a personal brand around you, the person, there are 3 questions that you need to ask yourself. 1, who am I? You got to know who you are in terms of the talents and the skills that you have. You got to know, what am I offering? And 3rd, you got to know who you are serving. So 3 essential questions when you think about developing yourself as a personal brand. Now, from the answers to these questions, you develop what we call a brand statement, a personal branding statement. And that personal branding statement, it basically tells your story. So we are coming back to the issue of story again, because every successful brand, if you look around, personal brand, story behind them. Michael Jordan has a story. Usain Bolt has a story. Oprah Winfrey has a story. Shelley and Fraser Price, as a story. Even Kim Kardashian, whether or not we like the fact that, you know, she started out in a questionable way, but she had a story as well. And what I want you to understand when it comes to personal branding is that as a personal brand, you are the object of admiration and desire for a lot of people. People are interested in you. They're interested in what you offer. They're inspired by you. So you find that they're interested in your story. The story that is behind you is what people are interested in because they're inspired by what they see. Okay? Now, in terms of your personal branding statement that I mentioned a minute or so ago, to tell your story well, you have to create that personal brand statement. And the statement must state a number of things. Let me just list them for you. Who you are, who you serve, what for your target market, and what makes you unique. I'm going to share my personal branding statement with you, the one that I came up with when I started out as a PR girl. But let me give you a quick idea of how that came about. In 2004, I branded myself as a PR girl because it was my passion. At that time, I had just come back to Jamaica from the UK. And you know, sometimes when you go and you study and you live abroad for a while, you get exposed to certain things which you didn't have at home or you didn't see at home. So you come back and you're excited. You know, that is how the PR girl came about, because what I did was to take what I learned, what I became exposed to in the UK, I took it back to Jamaica with me and decided I'm going to share it with my colleagues. I'm going to share it with my peers. So I created a brand, the PR girl, to do that. And that's how the name came about. So the branding statement that I had at that time was, I'm going to read that quickly for you. The PR girl is a passionate, innovative communication specialist who demystifies PR through the development of simple, effective communication products and affordable and ambitious individuals. So you see in that statement, I'm covering who I am. I'm covering what I offer. I'm covering who I serve. So I just quickly wrap that up for you. Now, I want to share with you, just as Mr. Davis would have said in the introduction, I have now gone into ministry. Over the past maybe 5 or so years, I have been in ministry. So that has caused me to rebrand just a little bit in terms of my personal brand, because I'm now a pastor. And even though I'm a so on, but I had to make sure people understood who I am now and what I do. So I evolved into ministry over the last few years, and I had to kind of rework my personal brand. And once I had a clear vision of who I was called to serve in ministry, I could define myself again much better as a personal brand. So I'm going to share with you quickly the strategies that I use. Now, I am known not as a PR girl, but for ministry purposes, I am known as a prayer warrior. So most people who are familiar with me in ministry will know I am the prayer warrior. The reason for that, I see Javette smiling. The reason for that is because I am known to be passionate about prayer in the same way that I was passionate about PR. I still am, but in ministry, I am passionate about prayer. And I don't just come to people and say, it is good to pray. I am giving you a practical example of what happens when you pray, because I have a story behind this brand now as a prayer warrior. I have been able to come through some adversities, and it's prayer that helped me to get there. So once again, a story behind it, and people can see the evidence. So there is trust there, there is credibility there as a personal brand now in ministry. The next thing is my audience. What you have to realize as a personal brand is who you're called to serve. In ministry, it might take a while for you to understand who you're called to serve, but based on my personal story and the kind of persons who I noticed were gravitating toward my ministry, I realized over maybe a period of a year or so that the people I was attracting through similar stuff to what I had gone through. So my story was attracting these people, and for one main reason. I had overcome the adversity that I went through, and they were curious to know how I did it. They wanted to learn from me, so they started to follow me. So right away, I had a better idea now of who my audience is, who I'm called to. And the story is that of an overcomer. Most persons who know me personally or in ministry know that I'm a fighter.
So I have a true story of overcoming adversity together as a personal brand, but this time it's not in the PR arena, but in ministry. And what I find pretty interesting as well, when it comes to the personal brand and your business itself, what I found interesting is that because as a minister, people gravitate to you, it's not just because of the spiritual things, but they're coming to you for advice. They're coming to you for inspiration. So I was able to empower people through personal coaching. So this is how the personal coaching evolved. Because people, how did you overcome what you went through? You understand? So this is how that part of the business develops. So you start out doing something that you are called to do, and at the same time, there's a business that has been born out of it. So now I function as a personal coach, and I coach not just other ministers, but I coach executives, I coach persons who want to find a way to overcome any blockages they have in their lives. If they're at a crossroads, then they come to me and I help them to overcome. So I'm gonna share quickly. Are you guys still seeing me? I'm gonna share with you quickly. Once I realized that I could impact people in a particular way with this new personal brand that I had put out there in ministry, I started to put in place the tools that could create credibility for me as a coach. So far, I've written 2 inspirational books because people are following me for inspiration. Can you hear me?
No, we're hearing you, but the plate just blank a while ago.
Okay, okay. So I'm back with you fully, hopefully.
Yeah.
Saying to you that once I realized that that I was growing as a coach, as a personal coach, I started to put in place the tools that would help me to establish credibility in that area. So what I've done so far, I've written 2 inspirational books. What I went ahead and did as well was to create a t-shirt line with inspirational messages. I also had the blog, and now I have a Facebook ministry as well. And that ministry has grown from, I think I was under 1,000, I'm now at 44,000 of the numbers. All right. So once you realize that your personal brand is able to create a successful business for you, you have to keep growing in terms of your credibility. Keep growing so that people can trust you even more and continue to follow you. The next thing I want to share with you quickly is when the COVID-19 pandemic started, when I saw the impact that it was having on churches where everybody is locked in, you can't go to church. So there must be a way you're going to engage your congregation. So what I started to do was I created a course and made it available to other ministers who didn't have a ministry online like I did. So the name of the course is now How to Build Your Ministry Online. So as a personal coach, seeing an opportunity there where I could serve, I created a course, and now I have persons who have signed up because I'm teaching you how I did it. So there's a need for it, and I'm teaching you now how I did it and how you can do it. All right, so I'm just going to share with you now how the personal brand can affect your business. The truth is that you create a personal brand to serve you, and you create it to serve the needs of others. So whether you build a personal brand for personal satisfaction or for profit, once you use the brand to serve others, it is really a business. So whatever you do, it can affect your business. It can affect your reputation, and it's going to automatically affect your bottom line, because when people lose trust in you, they're going to start holding on to their money. They don't want to spend it on anything that has to do with you. So 2 of the most significant ways in which your personal brand can affect your business. 1, there's credibility and trust. If there's a negative issue concerning you, you may lose credibility. 2nd is financial. If you lose credibility, you're likely to lose money. So your business is going to take a hit. And I'm going to share with you 2 quick examples. And I'm using local examples now, as in Jamaican examples, of how your personal brand affects your business. In 2008, there was a newspaper story about a client of mine, a small financial institution. And the impact of the story was negative. So the clients started to withdraw their money because they were fearful because of what was reported in the paper. The journalist, unfortunately, misunderstood what was said to her, and the way she wrote the story conveyed a message that caused people to panic and start pulling out their money, etc. Now, when it comes to money, you know that trust is very important. If people don't trust you, they're not going to put their money in your institution. What the owner wanted to do, the president of the institution, was for me as a PR person to just write a press release, put it out there, calm the fears. But I sat him down and I said, no, when it comes to money, the issue of trust is very strong. They need to see a face. They need to see you. And the reason why I push that where he's concerned is because he had a strong personal brand that people trusted. People trust him because they know him as a nice guy. They know him as a decent guy. So here is where we had to pull on that good reputation, that credibility, that trust that he had as a professional and put him out there now in the midst of the negative storm that is happening with his organization. And believe it or not, within a day or two, the entire thing settled down. That was in about 2008. And it's because he had a strong personal brand that people trusted. And once we put him out there as a face, he spoke to people, he answered questions, he calmed the fears, he clarified the misunderstanding, and the matter was resolved. So that's one case in which a personal brand really helped a business. The second one that I'm going to share with you now is different. It's a little bit more on the negative side, but some of you may identify, you may know who I'm referring to. I won't say any names. But the other person that I want to talk to you about in terms of the personal brand, how it may affect your business, some time ago, I don't remember what year it was, but there was a public personality who, he had a good brand, a strong personal brand, and unfortunately something happened and his credentials came into question, whether or not he had certain credentials. All right. And I remember him as a good and decent person. So when he came to me for advice, my advice to him at the time was show the proof. Simple. You have the proof, show the proof. It didn't happen. The proof didn't come forward. So in that case, the damage was so severe that he had to just sit it out for a while. Just take a back seat and sit it out for a while. So that's another example now. So I gave you one positive and I gave you one negative in terms of how the personal brand can work to help your business or how it can destroy your business. All right. Now, before I close, I want to quickly go through 10 steps to help you create a successful personal brand. One, the first thing you got to do is identify your gift. What makes you unique? There are many people out there with the same kind of skills that you may have. So what makes you stand out? Second, identify the target market who you serve, whose needs you're going to meet and meet them effectively. What are the problems you're going to solve for them with your gift? Third, you create that personal statement that I spoke about earlier. And that statement must say clearly what you offer and to whom. The next thing, very important, you got to fall in love with the people you serve. Javette mentioned something earlier, but it comes back to the fact that you got to want to do this, not for the money, but there must be a passion. There must be something you love about what you do. So you got to fall in love with the people who you are serving. Me, I love my followers. So fall in love with those people that you are serving, and you get to know them as intimately as possible. And the next thing you do, I tell this to professionals all the time, always try to have your personal statement as a guide. You create your bio, whatever you have across the internet, the whole thing must be consistent. You have on your LinkedIn profile a bio, they can't see a bio somewhere else that is totally different from who you are. So there must be consistency across all the platforms that you use to promote yourself as a personal brand. The next thing you do is you groom those skills and those gifts. Groom them as much as possible before you come out in public and make a large scale announcement, because there are many people with similar skills and talents to what you have. And when you come out, you must come out solid, knowing that this is what I have to offer and you're confident in it and there's value to what you are bringing. The next thing you do, you got to identify the channels through which you're going to make it known to people that this is who I am and this is what I offer. So a lot of us now, we are focusing on online, not just traditional methods of going places and networking and meeting people, but you got to establish a strong presence online for your brand. And the next thing is you have to believe in your gift. Believe that you're the best. Whatever you say you do, believe that you're the best, because if you don't believe it, nobody's not going to believe you, you know. It's like walking into a room, and if you're not confident, the moment you walk into the room, everybody knows, because it's in your walk, it's in your posture. So you got to believe in yourself and believe that you are who you say that you are. And the next thing is you got to be consistent. You can't be one thing today. As a personal brand, credibility and trust are important. You can't be one thing today and tomorrow you are something else. And whatever you are giving to people, let it be the truth. Let it be the truth, because people, it's easy for people to Google your research, you know. So whoever you say that you are, you got to be authentic, and you have to be real, and you need to be consistent. And the final thing, very important, once you've developed this personal brand, make sure you protect it. A lot of us, sometimes we have skills, we have gifts, we have talents, we create all these names and we go out there and boom, somebody steal either the name or something that you developed. Register your stuff, trademark, copyright, all of these things. The legal measures you need to put in place, do them. Because your brand is there to protect you and you must protect it. All right, so that is my brief presentation. And if there are any questions and so on later on, I'm sure that they, will be allowed.
Thank you very much, Maria. I appreciate that last point. And
Yes.
it provides an excellent segue into not only the next presenter, but also to tell our folks in the room that we're next presentation next week for creatives, or next in the In Concert series, is about IP, is about intellectual property protection. So critical. Thank you so much for that. So the final person that we're going to have share with you this morning is many persons may know him as many different things. But he is the co-founder with his brother Davian of Bresheh. And Bresheh, he will tell you about, and it was founded on the veranda with an old domestic sewing machine. And he says, big dreams. Today, he is the chief dream maker of the soon-to-be 5-year-old 11-member social enterprise. The Young Leaders of America's Institute alumnus is also an award-winning dub poet, a creative activist, former Jamaica Youth Ambassador, as well as the Prime Minister and Commonwealth Youth Award recipient for excellence in arts and culture. And his biggest accomplishment to date is that he went to a good school. And a good school is called Excelsior High School.
Sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Randy McLaren to speak with us.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Harold. Greetings, everyone, and good morning. Thanks to Javette and Mary for your presentations. You guys ensure that I don't need to go into all the technical stuff. So the marketers and the PR people have spoken. I'll just talk about my journey and to share what I've learned and understand about branding and marketing from a real practical standpoint. So guys, I didn't study, as an entrepreneur. Myself and Javette would have gone through Branson Center. That's actually my where I got my first formal introduction to business or entrepreneurship. The backstory to that, before I even go into it, is that I did a workshop and an event for the survivors of the Armadale fire. So we're going into branding, and you've heard about personal branding. I am passionate about people and making a change, making a difference. So before I get to Bresheh, I'm starting with a personal brand. And as Randy, as a poet, I'm known as the creative activist, which is basically representing different social issues, but doing it in a creative way. So I was one of the main voices in terms of championing the cause of those who had died from the Armadale incident and the survivors. So about 3 years after we held a workshop, we actually held a workshop at UWI, and then we brought the survivors, some of the survivors and their families, to Boonall Oasis, to have lunch, to have some food. We did some performances. We had psychologists and so forth on hand to provide counseling and give them a chance to meet and see each other after years of not having seen each other since the fire happened. I realized that after that event, I had the busman to pay, I had the caterers to pay, and all these bills. And so my introduction, the reason why I had to go and sign up for Bresheh Center is because clearly it costs to care. And this way of just wanting to do good without having a strong brand, being able to send your sponsorship proposal where you get support for it, and then being in debt afterwards, that's not sustainable. I'm a creative at heart, and so give me the ideas to work on, give me the jingles to write, give me the script to write, give me the creative things to do, but don't necessarily tell me to go and write a marketing proposal or you know, that side of it, I'll leave to Javette and Marie to do those things. So when I went into Bresheh Center, they basically ripped the idea that I had on paper at the time. They pulled it apart. In other words, they were saying there was no business. I cried in that session. And that became a part of my personal journey. To cut a long story short, at the end of that training period, I don't remember if it was 2 months or 3 months, I left the group, the cohort 4, with the highest mark for a business plan. The creative youth who went in, started at the bottom of the pile. I was determined to leave with a solid business plan because what? At the end of the day, I was never driven by the money. I was driven by my creative talents and my urge to help others. So without understanding it, you know, the branding and the personal branding and the need to build a tribe, I knew from the beginning that I was about making a difference. I was about improving lives. And it's later on, now I understand fully that, hey, that is a part of my story. That is what at the core of my brand. That is what people know Randy for. And so as a personal, as a performer, this youth from St. Thomas, because the St. Thomas people, them Javette, I've been able to travel to over 15 or so countries without having to pay $1 because of my dub poetry, right? Doing dub poems, doing workshops about this thing called dub poetry as far as South Africa and Zambia in Africa, places in the UK, the US, across the Caribbean. Because of the personal brand, the people, the power of the internet will see your work on YouTube and message you and say, hey, we love what you're doing in Jamaica. How about we book a ticket for you to come over here and perform for our people to go into communities and replicate this wonderful work that we see you doing in Jamaica. So all my creatives, all my entrepreneurs, I'm tweaking it a bit because I know who is online. You are an artist, you are creative. Don't think you can't do it. So the guys have spoken a lot about company branding and personal branding, but when we talk about made in Jamaica, when we talk about what Jamaica is known for, then that takes us into the realm of place branding, country branding, right? So just the same principles you apply to personal branding, same principle you apply to a corporate brand can be applied to your country. Jamaica the world over is one of the biggest brands. Understand? Though we're a small island, when you mention reggae, the world knows. When we talk, the world knows where we're from and they want us to talk more. When you say dreadlocks, when you talk about Rastafari, dance hall, how we move, how we dance, people associate all of these things with brand Jamaica. So when we talk about, again, words like Irie, you know, even ganja and the herb, again, people associate all of these things with Jamaica. So people never just want me to come overseas and perform because I'm a dub poet. But no, you're a dub poet, you're a poet from Jamaica. They know the energy that I'm going to bring. They figure, all right, Jamaicans love you, and we over here love you as well. Why not? And we love the message that's in your work, in your creative work. So I'm making it clear. Once you are also clear about what you stand for, what you're passionate about, at Bresheh Center we learn about, and at JBDC you learn about the value of the social enterprise and the triple bottom line, people, profit, planet. Ensure that at no point you're going into it because you just want to make money. There will be days when there's no money. There'll be days when your clients take forever to pay you. There'll be days, and I've had to do this, when you have to look at your staff and say, guys, you not stone me, please, me I beg you, but me don't have the money to pay you this Friday. Understand? Because them love me, I guess that's why they never stoned me. They understood that Bresheh now is bigger than Randy, and they understood the full vision of what that's all about. So let's now move over to Bresheh. So before starting Bresheh in 2015, I was traveling the world and doing corporate events, performing as a dub poet, as writing jingles. I worked with Javette at Point Global to create jingles stuff for some of his brands as well. Really enjoy those kind of works, you know. And again, he spoke about the tribe, building the tribe. After having started Bresheh is when I started to realize in a different way the power of a tribe and the power of my personal brand. Bresheh kicked off so easily and so quickly, and it's years after I understood this, because Randy the poet had a strong personal brand before. So what I did, I think Javette mentioned the word, or Marie, was to basically leverage my personal brand to my audience. And when they realized that Randy was associated with Bresheh, because of the reputation that I had as a good youth, as a creative youth who wanted to make change, who wanted to do things differently, head boy at Excel High School, good youth, country youth, from small, humble beginnings, but ambitious. I wanted to go far, but also want to take others with him as well. So in 2015, myself and my younger brother, Davian, we started this enterprise on our veranda, literally up by Rockford. When I left St. Thomas, I went to live in Rockford. And that's a veranda, small space where my brother and myself started Bresheh. Why am I mentioning this? Because the guys have mentioned it to you that branding is about the brand story. It's about being real. It's about being authentic. I'm not about prettying it up and saying, oh, we didn't start in a big warehouse and a big factory. No, we started in a small veranda in Rockford. And we started with an old domestic machine. That's our story. And we have to stick to it. And we have to be true to it. And so when others understand that that's where we're coming from, when you're building a brand, don't chase the dollars, but chase the heart, the emotional connections that you make. Be real. And I find when you do that, people love what you do more. When people can connect with what you do and you're not prettying it up and trying, because you know, so Steve Jobs did this and everybody else did that, you're trying to make it look as if you're there. No, you're not reached yet, brethren. You'll get there because Amazon started in the garage or in the living room or where, but something like that. So you'll get there. Trust the process and be true to it. So we started in 2015. Myself and my brother, I can't sew. To this day, people think I am making the bags. No, my brother is the true boss. So he'll make the stuff. I'll help him to cut. I'll help him to trim. Whatever else, I'll deal with the marketing. I'll deal with the posting on social media. Manage everything else, deliveries, to ensure that he could have, done all the design elements when we're just starting out. Again, that's our story. I'm mentioning this because a core part of Bresheh is about our core purpose and our core values. One of the key values that we have is collaborate to be great. And Javette spoke about your brand promise. I want to throw in these things as important elements as well. Your core purpose and your core values. When people understand the things that you stand for, they tend to want to support you more. Especially in this day and age, people are buying on value, how you are taking care of your people, how you're taking care of your environment, how you're taking care of your customers. These are very important things in terms of making that emotional connection. You get me? Because why is that important? Again, Javette spoke about the tribe. We are trying to build, and we've started the journey of building a tribe at Bresheh. You only want one customer, my friends. And then that one customer will take you up to the 1,000 to build a tribe. And then if you get one customer and that one person tells them friend and them mother and them father, that's more customers. And no money you spend to market can be as powerful as somebody saying to someone else, hey, I bought this product, I'm in love with it. I love the features, I love the compartments. And hey, when I buy a roast backpack, guess what? It comes inclusive with personalization. I can add my name or my initials to it. No other bag brand affords me that. And guess what? It's made right here in Jamaica, not in China. See, China locked down the other day and everybody now struggling and see the blocking things coming in. We have to rethink these things. What is said to me, Javette, is that we've been onto something. Because when we started Bresheh, we looked at the market, myself and my brother was working at a department store downtown at the time. People are making sandals, people are making different clothing items, but nobody in the country or in the Caribbean is making bag. We have to change it. We're importing about 1 million backpacks on record at the time, importing. So clearly there was a huge gap for import substitution. So I mean, look guys at all the things that we're now importing and judge those things against your talents and your skill sets. If not your talent and your skill sets, the talent and skill sets of those around you, and how can you collaborate to make some of these things, to offer some of these services right where you are. So when we realized that we're importing all of these things, we realized we had to change it. And that's how Bresheh was born. We wanted an option that was made in Jamaica, that would reflect the design aesthetics of Jamaica, and Jamaicans not just here, but those in the diaspora, and Bresheh was born in 2015. Some of you may know the meaning of Bresheh. If you don't, then I'll tell you. Again, this is a part of your branding. Again, the professionals spoke about the importance of the name, because everywhere you go, people will call the name. Now, me as a proud country youth, I have a poem as well called "Me Love Me Breadfruit." Bresheh is a country people word for breadfruit. I grew up in St. Thomas, and it's Bresheh my grandmother called breadfruits. Straight. The first breadfruit tree was actually planted in Bath in St. Thomas. You get me? So it's paying homage to where I'm from, but it's also very culturally relevant. Again, you associated Bresheh with Jamaica. That's authentic. And so every time somebody buys a bag, they're walking around with a brand that represents Jamaica. If you're overseas in New York, married with a Bresheh, and somebody who knows it see you, they say, "Why you're rocking a Bresheh bag? I must Jamaican something that." Yeah, you're a proud Jamaican. And that's exactly it. We have a lot of customers in New York and Florida because they want to wear something from Jamaica. They're very patriotic. You get me? And they feel proud. So they've always asked me, "Why you don't put the flag on the thing, man, so everybody can know, say, a Jamaica I come from and a Jamaica I represent." So there is so much power in brand Jamaica. And as a performer, when I travel, I would have seen the love that people have for brand Jamaica, the love that people have for us as a people. But then I realized that when it come on to the tangibles, we never had things moving with reggae music, with the dancehall. So we know Bob Marley, but what are the bags, what are the shoes, what are the tangible things moving with the reggae music? So one of my dreams is wherever reggae music is played, Bresheh should be worn. You get me? So we're just getting started because there's so much more to be done. We're laying the platform. People say to us every day, "Why don't you get them made in China?" That's easy, my friends. How about we build a network of makers here in Jamaica that can make it? If we reach a point where we've maxed out local, then we can consider. You get me? But since we started, we always wanted to build something called the veranda industry or the veranda dream makers, because we started on the veranda. Now more than ever with COVID-19 happening, we've had to jump to that. We've been delaying it. But now my staff, they're at home with their sewing machines, making masks to supply to different companies and individuals across Jamaica, even to New York and Canada right now. I'm at home and the guys are at home making stuff. You get me? So again, the veranda has become a very critical part of our brand story. Our core purpose, our core value of collaborating to be great. Our core value of taking Jamaican culture to the world. These are things that we live by. Creativity. Jamaicans will always say, "Turn your hand, make fashion." So there is no way, even though we hesitated, there was so much interest, so many people asking us to make masks. Eventually we had to give in because Javette said something that's very important. We're trying to build a premium brand at Bresheh. So do you run at something that's mass produced, low margin, that's cheaper. You have to be clear. So even though we've gone into masks, there's a difference. We're using vegan leather, we're using a more expensive material than most, and we're giving you complimentary filters. We're giving you still what we promise, a dream-making service experience. You get me? And that is reflected in the way we interact with you, whether by phone, by email, online. It's a one love family experience that you come into. And there's so much more for us to do. I have some points down here and I don't want to forget them. But your brand is about what people are saying about you and your brand, if it's a tangible brand, when you're not there. How does it make them feel? Does it make them feel as if they are ambitious, they are successful? You get me? We are going after those persons in Jamaica and overseas who are ambitious, who are patriotic, who are dream makers, who want to make things improve, who want to impact others. And we believe it. Every day we get up, we want to make our customers more purposeful and more prepared through the dream-making experiences that we share with them. And that's our mission. It's as simple as that. So I want to say to you guys, in building out your brand, you need to understand, and I want to reiterate, your core purpose is important. Your core values is important. Ensure that you're not just going into it because you want to make money and just money. You have to find ways as well to differentiate. And how do you differentiate? Very quickly, you have to stay authentic to who you are as an individual and who you are as a brand. So we'll forever be Brand Jamaica. And though Uncle Harold, we've launched the Roast Collection, which is more corporate and professional, it is still roast, because what you do with the breadfruit when you get it? You roast it. And so it's still an authentic story. And guess what? We have the black one, we have the brown one, and we have the gray. The brown one we call rusty brown, because when you roast it on the metal sometimes, and the metal it do what? It's rusty. You get me? Again, when you roast it, the outside is dark and it's black. So we call that one charcoal black. And the gray one now, when you roast the breadfruit, you add the little gray spot or the whitish spot. We call it ash gray. So it's built into it. On the inside of your roast is creamish. You understand? When you roast the breadfruit and you peel it, inside is what? It's cream or golden. So there's a story to it. Everything connects. And then as a poet now, everything just wraps up into the storytelling of it. We're not doing the best job at telling all the stories as yet, but we'll have them. And it's going to get to the point. I remember when I was just starting out, one of the first persons I sent the logo that we had put together quickly was Javette. I don't even remember. So to this day, this year, we actually plan to rebrand because it's not where we want it to be as yet, but I want to use this to make the point that you don't have to start big, my friends. Everything, it doesn't have to be perfect. Start. And then you can reach out to the professionals. If you can reach out from the beginning to get it right from the get-go, wonderful. If not, start. We didn't have any big money, and I'm wrapping up in 2 minutes, to spend on any big budget to do any big thing. We use social media. My brother is self-taught. He went to Excelsior as well. We had the old domestic machine on our veranda. We got bags and him pulled them down and make up him own a design until we were comfortable that we could put it to market. We take 2 photos, we post to Instagram and we post it to Facebook, and we got the first 3 customers. We take the deposit from them, we use it to buy the initial material and thread and stuff, and Bresheh was born, my friends, just like that. And we've been using social media quite heavily since. That's how we get most of our customers, and word of mouth. So I'm saying to you, your brand story is very important. Be true to who you are, be authentic, man. Not try to be like everybody else. You have to differentiate. Again, the guy said it earlier, I don't want to be a Me Too customer, a Me Too brand, a Me Too company. Bring something different to the table. We'll have this style. One bottled water brand come out in Jamaica, all of a sudden everybody doing bottled water. You understand? I don't like the rat race thing all the time. Everybody wants to do the same thing. If you're going to do it, find ways to differentiate. That's very important. We are unique people. We're a unique country. We have so much going on for us. We're not short of ideas and talents and creativity. So let's make it work, infuse it into the brand story. There's so much that we can make right here in Jamaica. The world is waiting on us, but we'll have to get it together and pull all the different elements of the brand together. So hopefully I've left something that you'll remember. If nothing else, remember, be true to who you are, and remember the brand story is very, very important. All right, I'll leave it at there for now.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much, Randy, and thank you very much to Marie and Javette as well. And I want to tell you, or show you my thing.
Woyoy! That's the roast.
Notice the customized.
Yes.
All right. The roast, right? Right, Randy?
Yes, man. That's the rusty brown roast by Bresheh.
All right, see that? Same way, sir. So thank you very much. And I must say as well to you guys who are here, thank you for being here. But I want to apologize on behalf of one of our advertised presenters, Deiwght. He had a major tragedy with one of his staff members, so he apologizes and can't make it. But I think we've gotten a lot of food for thought, for questions, for comments. We're gonna open the floor. I mean, what I see.
Mr. Davis, before we get into the questions and comments, a couple of persons have asked if Javette could just share the last 2 slides of his presentation. It went by very quickly and they didn't get a chance to see. So if you could just share it again, Javette, so that they can probably screenshot it and then we can move on.
Sure. I'll put it up and share the screen again.
Yeah.
Let me see.
While Javette is doing that, Ms. V earlier shared an article with me while we were in session, and it's about the value of a brand in a lockdown where there's zero demand and no market access, straight up cash flow, etc., etc. By Devin Griffith, and that's on LinkedIn. And essentially, many of the points that were made this morning have been reiterated by Devin. He was saying, for instance, that in this crisis period, one thing that we have to do is reevaluate the role of money. In other words, take advantage, do exactly what you're doing here now. Taking advantage of resources that have become available. Don't be afraid to do that. I mean, take advantage of online training as necessary. And also he made another point that says that you need to, if you have a brand, to maintain the brand, you need to give the impression that your business is still open for business. Even if you're not providing the same product in the same kind of way, stay connected with your customers, stay connected with them, talk to them, blog, find other ways to stay in touch with them, even if you may not be earning from those interactions in this particular period. So it's very important. Thanks, Ms. V. Sansia?
Yes, Mr. Davis, I'm here.
Okay. Questions?
There is a question from Rani Sarju. Rani, I'm gonna unmute your mic and you go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, everyone.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can, Sansia. Thank you. Okay. Hello, everyone. Randy, big up yourself. Everybody in my office has a Bresheh bag.
Greetings.
Yeah, we're with the youth division, and Randy's a product of that youth division as well.
Yes.
Proud to say. One of the questions I wanted to ask, and it's not really everyone, I have found that I'm multi-talented. And I've had mentors who have said, you need to key in on one thing. And I think Harold started his discourse by speaking about zooming in on and narrowing, and Marie said it as well. However, one of the things that I have found is that while my passion has been food, I think that in growing as people, we develop other passions and skill sets that we become very good at. So, Marie, you mentioned in terms of even in your 10 steps, in terms of developing that brand or that brand statement and your identity, the consistency. How do you have transitioned from PR? There's still a little PR in your ministry part of it, right?
Yes.
But then I do food, how does my story or my brand statement, how can my brand statement complement food and complement strategic planning and monitoring and evaluation, which are really and truly two completely different skill sets. But I like to help businesses with the planning processes, the SWOT analysis, and I do it for free oftentimes, even with people who have business and stuff, and the force field analysis and all of that. But then how do I create a brand statement? Javette, you look very confused. A brand statement that complements the two, that my passion is food, and I am doing food, but the fact is that I also have this other skill set that may not be related to food, but it is also a skill set that another business person might want to access. How do you develop that dual brand statement? And if you create that, does it seem to your target market as inconsistent, or you're all over the place? You know what I mean? You can't control the diversity of talents that you have, really and truly. But then you don't want to shortchange the world by not sharing one talent, by only sharing one talent when your talents may very well benefit the world in a myriad of ways.
All right. What I would say in that case, though, Rani, because I have a challenge too in terms of the different skills, because there are a lot of skills that I have. And true to what you have said before, the experts are always going to tell you to zoom in on one or two areas, because you can't really try to market yourself as a jack of all trades, even though you know within that you can do X, Y, Z things. But what I would suggest for your particular case, though, is do not be too quick to dismiss being able to merge the two, because it's possible. You're in foods and you have management and strategic skills, business skills that people in business need. Why not look at the food industry itself? What about training to the people in the food industry who need the kind of strategic skills that you are sharing? But you can zoom in on the food industry, not just any business, but use those skills that you have, because you have the passion already for foods. So incorporate the two, identify that target market and go after them where you can offer the skills you have in food and the skills that you have in business. There are many courses that you can create online now, you know. You probably would have mentioned, you would have heard me mention earlier how I decided to do how to build your ministry online because of this whole COVID-19 thing. So the opportunity exists for people like yourself, you know, who have all these skills together to be able to go online, package yourself and create courses that you can make available to people. In terms of the brand statement, mine has evolved over the years. I'm still a marketer, I'm still a PR consultant. I always remind people of that. But what I do, I have a website for that service. And then when it comes to social media, my focus heavily is on ministry. So there's a clear distinction there in terms of where you're going to find me for what. So I'm hoping that this gives you some, you know, enlightenment as to how you may be able to proceed.
Just a quick comment as well. There are lots of people who have a diverse skill set. And I think so that is actually not rare. Actually, most people have a diverse skill set. Most people have several things that that speak to them and that they're passionate about. I think what is key is actually what Randy was pointing to, and I think all of us actually alluded to it, which is authenticity. If you have a skill set where food, but also the strategic and the operational is an important part of you, express that, convey that, pursue that, because as you do it, it will point to areas that you even didn't know exist. It will open avenues for you that you don't know exist and create opportunities for innovation. People generally, when they try to be generalists, what happens is the bulk of people try to be generalists. So they try to look at the trends, follow the trend, and stay in the middle with everybody else. Innovation happens on the fringes. So if you look at it, if you just think, everybody know in the health and fitness area, yoga big is yoga pants. Everybody is buying yoga pants. Athleisure is a big thing in active wear and fashion industry. But in order to create that, if the designer that created yoga pants was saying, you know, I'm gonna look to what is popular, they would not have created that. In order to do that, they have to go to the fringes. They have to follow the passion in areas that are not immediately obvious. So that's where innovation happens. So in food and your operation or your strategic work might seem a little bit divergent now. But if you are authentic to that and you follow it and you work with it and you feel your passion and find your tribe, you might find that you are able to create an innovation in the space that somebody with other skill set and experiences don't have. If Uber could not, in order for Uber to exist in the US, they couldn't be trying to emulate the taxi driving service. They had to be on the fringe. They had to be at an idea angle that is a little bit, what are you trying to do? That's kind of crazy. So you have to be a little bit kind of on the fringe to actually innovate and come up with something new. Everybody who is an expert at something, when you look at the conventional wisdom, in the immediate, in the short term, people would look at it and say, what? That don't make no sense. That is hard to do. So you have to be kind of a little bit stubborn and on the fringes to create innovation. So an expert or people who say they're experts might not immediately, including me, might not immediately see how the two can connect. But trust yourself to know that this is what you are passionate about. These are the things that speak to you, and just pursue it. Pursue it. And if as long as you're, for me, what I say to people is, as long as you're being true to yourself, as long as this is you, this is not, oh, I saw somebody on YouTube do this, so I'm going to do it. Or I saw my neighbor do it. As long as this is about what you are passionate about, what you are trying to give, you're a true expression of yourself, you will find an intersection that works for you. You will find an intersection that works for you very well, because that's the nature of innovation. Innovation happens on the fringes. Amazon couldn't exist without Bezos doing something that was crazy, which is, I am trying to list every book in the world, right? If people wonder why Amazon is so big, it's because he set out this massively on dream that doesn't look sensible. You're trying to list every book in the world. But what happens as a result of setting that big dream is that in order to do this, a lot of other little things have to adjust and align. So you have to create this massive logistic infrastructure, and he stays with it. You have to create this ability to get it to people quickly, and you stay with it. So you move from, I think Zuckerberg said it best, ideas don't come out fully formed, right? Ideas aren't born, ideas are like people. They are babies, right? And when you nurture and you feed them and you stay with them and you stay with the process, they become full-blown adults that do amazing things, like invent new things. Like people think it's different. No, the ecosystem and your dream is the same way. When I was starting thinking about doing Point Global, I had no idea that we would be able to have clients. I know in my head, this I want to add value. Randy, I'm sure Randy had no idea what, he had an inkling, you have a tip of it. It's like the body of knowledge that exists. You're on the cusp of it, but to fully, nobody fully understands what they are trying to build. Yeah. That's why the analogy of building the plane while you're flying it is so important for branding and entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I've been totally learning on the go. As I said, so Rani, just quickly, so I'm using this season at home to work through something that's similar, because there's Randy, the creative activist, the performer, and now Randy over here in Bresheh, the dream makers. You get me? So now I'm working through that process as well, and how, because I've not been performing so much for the last 4 to 5 years, but now I intended to start performing again this summer. So I have to work on all of those things and to get it straight, but maybe there's a way to merge it. And I want to leave with you 3 things. Just taglines. The food strategist, I mean, you can merge them, or the food loving strategist, or the food loving brand strategist. You know, there are different ways you can spin it to make it work for you, that you can merge both of them, because, and speaking to your core words are what you want to build the brand around, and those would capture it. So there's nothing that's stopping you. Both of them can feed off the other, right? So I'm saying go for it. Don't let, because they seem as though they are different industries, don't let that stop you at all. As an entrepreneur, as a performer, and as a creative that's been feeding into Bresheh, you get me? As a creative, I didn't know a thing about manufacturing, but I'm learning and I'm reading and I'm making it work because I'm being driven by the passion and wanting to improve lives generally.
Can I add one last comment quickly, Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Right. In regards to the question that Rani asked, I want to share with you, Rani, that when it comes to having a diverse set of skill sets or passions, and you want to pursue all of them, based on what we have seen over the years, I would suggest to you that you start out by building the personal brand, because a personal brand, once it's built and solid and people trust you, you have credibility, they will buy other stuff from you. You can look at people like Oprah. Oprah started out as a presenter. She's in publishing, she's in so many different things now, but what sells everything is Oprah. Oprah the brand. You have the same thing with a lot of other celebrities. So focus right now on the thing that you probably love the most, start out with it, build the personal brand, and the brand will help you to expand into other areas with credibility.
All right, thank you guys. Sansia, anybody else with their hand raised?
I don't see anybody with the hands raised right now, but I just want to reiterate, for persons who want to ask questions, just click on the participant button in the center of your screen and click on raise your hand. So, and if you don't have a mic, you can also type the message in the chat and we will ask the question for you. All right, Mr. Davis, you can go ahead.
Oh, okay, sorry. All right, so I mean, until other persons want to raise their hand, and we have another sweetener in this discussion, as you guys who have been here before know that we don't do things without certain things at JBDC, and the certain things that we don't do things without is to add some creativity, some flair, some excitement to the pot, you know. So we have some sweetener coming. I mean, you have been hearing all along that this gentleman is not only the builder of dreams, chief dream maker. So you call yourself? Nice.
Don't call me.
But also, he is the creative activist, and we're gonna get a taste of Randy the creative this morning through some dub poetry, a couple of dub poems from Randy. So Randy, you ready, bossy?
Well, I'm not even remember so I'm supposed to perform. Getting so excited about the conversations and stuff. Forget about the performance. All right. Let's say as a performer, you must always be ready. So it's okay, so it's a different style of performance, clearly we're doing the video. So let me usually say stand and deliver, sit in and deliver this morning. All right. So I told you guys, the voice seems to be going, that the Bresheh, the name Bresheh was influenced by where I'm from, St. Thomas. But not just that, a poem I have called "Me Love Me Breadfruit." I've been doing this poem since 2004 in high school, right? You remember inter-house competition, Harold? Yeah, man. So that's where we did this poem first. We had to build different menu items around it and stuff at school. And so that's when I've been doing this one from. I can't do the general interaction, but that normally I'd say, what do you usually eat a breadfruit with? Breadfruit and salt. No, breadfruit and butter. If you come from country like me, and cooking always then at the Dutch pot, if I even just moisten it, you know? And you have to make sure you have some water, aka Crystal Punch, or Kool-Aid, or some juice close by. Because the breadfruit is a thing where we choke you. Right? You don't want to ramp with the breadfruit like that. So guys, this one is called Me Love My Breadfruit. Breadfruit. Me love me breadfruit. Breadfruit. Me say me love me breadfruit. Breadfruit. Me love me breadfruit. From the tree to the root again. Breadfruit. Me love the breadfruit, Lord. Breadfruit. Me say me love me breadfruit. Boy, breadfruit. You love your breadfruit. From the tree to the root. Breadfruit, come here, true Captain Bly. Check case your book if you think of the lie. Breadfruit, green, sticky and round and nice. Just like jam down. My breadfruit, it versatile. You roast it, to fry it, to bake it, to boil. And sometime when it over, right, me just crush it up. And yeah, me same time, cause breadfruit, me love the breadfruit. Breadfruit, me say me love me breadfruit. Breadfruit, you love your breadfruit. From the tree top to the root. When somebody call you a roast breadfruit, don't kill your teeth and think say it cute. All it means is that you know no pride. Black outside and you're white inside. You ever try Bresheh and the butter? Oh Lord, that will make your heart flutter. Still, breadfruit sweet and breadfruit nice when you have that. You don't need no rice, you have Bresheh and beer, Bresheh and fish, and Bresheh and ackee that are top class dish. Hey, breadfruit, me love me breadfruit. Breadfruit, me say me love the breadfruit, Lord. Breadfruit, you love your breadfruit. From the tree to the root, your time. Breadfruit, love me breadfruit. Breadfruit, me say me love me breadfruit. Hey, breadfruit, we love the breadfruit. From the tree top to the root. Who love? Me love my breadfruit. Yes, sir.
Right, the next one. Hungry now, man.
Yeah, feel hungry now. Oh, God.
Yeah, squeeze in the next one, Randy.
Huh?
Yeah, squeeze in the next one.
Well, are you at the bars, you know?
Yeah, man, do your thing, man. Do your thing, man. Do your thing.
If you remember the words,
one just so I was so.
If you remember the words, I just stop and go and like say they say it done. I like that with the proper, but the show must go on. Which other one I should do now? The one you're long. Progressive youth. I give everybody a piece. All right. Everybody, listen, let me tell you. I am a youth and I'm progressive. Oh, look how we test grades, them impressive. Don't me say we head down straight. Progressive will not be a turban. Jamaica, and I said the whole of we great, cause we are youth, we're progressive. Look how we test grades, them impressive, Lord. Head down straight. Progressive will not be a turban. Jamaica, and I said the whole of we great. Everybody, listen what me tell you about life. And every ghetto youth one bust a gun and back a knife. My mother buried me in a 88 storm in a St. Thomas. And that's I born. Grew up in a ghetto. Mama never had much. She always tell me say to look and never touch. Or else in my head me get a conk with the brush. Conk with the brush, yeah, conk with the brush. The little what she had done, she sent me go to school. Me make it be my mission for not turning no fool. No days me dey ask school me belly, no other thing. Me read out lunchtime till the bell ring. Me never watch no face. Father God put everything in place, cause every test me pass, top of the class, you know me at the boss. Me have to come first place, me can't come last. I'm a youth and a progressive. Oh, look how we test grades, them impressive. Don't say we head down straight. Progressive will not be it to bond Jamaica, and I said the whole away. Great. Get to youth, get stigmatized. Everywhere me go, I get to youth, them criticize. Everyone is equal. That's a film view. Remember the day when we go for interview, them look on the address and me come from the ghetto. You don't know my dreams get up, wreck this up, but little did they know one day I would be a manager, a CEO, cause I'm a youth and a progressive. Oh, look how we test grades, I'm impressive. Don't me say we head down straight. Progressive will not be at the bar, Jamaica, and I said the whole away. Great. So after the interview, me dry up all my tears and me hold me head high. Pray to the Father, cause me not stop trying no matter how them try for whole I down. Me nah go sell no coke, nah go bust no gun, nah go turn no teeth. But my mother in a grief, you must say mad. Oh, and every ghetto youth bad. So then after that, me try for a month, try out every fund. When a scholarship and then me step up in a college, mash up the place with my skills and my knowledge, my brain and function. Hey, you don't know why? Because a grandma parade. So now me could have be a contractor and after a doctor. But I'm not that me prefer. Me choose to be a lawyer. So the other day me get a case. When me check it out, no the man from interview that I looking at my face. My client sue them for discriminate. You have HIV and if the Lord believe. You think get me grief. So me just win all the trial. Left them in denial, them and look for me. Me say, it's true. Do unto others as you would have them. Do want to do, because I'm a youth and I'm progressive. Oh, look how we test grades, them impressive. Don't me say we head down straight. Progressive would not be to born Jamaicans. I said the world that we great because we are youth. Sure.
Well, wicked. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Randy.
No problem at all.
That's nice. What you say? I go back in this summer?
Yeah, that was the plan, but you see COVID there and now, so maybe later this year.
Or earlier.
Earlier, so I tried
I see some other hands up.
Yes, and I have a couple questions in the chat as well.
Okay, go ahead, Sansia.
All right, so from Sharika Borrell, I guess anybody can take this question. How can you successfully market your personal business or business brand without a budget? Who is going to take that one? Mary, you want to take that one? How can you successfully market your personal or business brand without a budget?
One of the first things I suggest to persons who are trying to build their brand is not to focus. Money is important, but creativity can get you very far. So if you're focusing on building your brand, you don't have a lot of resources in terms of money to spend. You got to use your creativity. What are the platforms available to you to promote your business, to promote your brand, which does not require you to spend a lot of money? First thing, social media. Social media, you're reaching millions. And it doesn't cost you anything or much to really leverage your brand on social media, unless you're going into paid advertising. Understandable and works as well. But there are organic ways to build following and to get exposure on social media, which isn't going to cost you anything. I have done that successfully. The next thing you have to look at is, remember, it's not just Facebook, it's not just Instagram, but there are a lot of people who get exposure through having a blog. So if you know something, you're an expert to expose your brand is to create blogs. It can be that you have a blog where you write. It can be that you have a blog where you do videos. But right now, I recommend to most persons, even if you're shy, take your time to develop those presentation skills and focus much more on video blogging. People have short attention span. If you have something to say, and people need what you are sharing, they will listen more if you come out with something that they can see. So video blogging, podcasts, very, very important. There are creative ways. So I would say to any person who is struggling is to build your brand, look online first and foremost and try to build out there. And the other thing that you can also do, remember you still have to network. And when we talk about networking, your professional associations, in the area that you are, for example, if you are a marketer, is there a professional association for marketers there? Make sure you join so you're exposed to other persons. So those are some of the ways that I would suggest you proceed to go about it.
30 seconds. One of the best ways to build your brand without money is by doing good work, right? If you have a cook shop and you're frying chicken, and it's the best fried chicken that you're frying, there is no way one person won't try it and say, hey, the best fried chicken I ever had was at this place. There's no substitute for absolutely amazing work. Nothing prevents absolutely amazing work from being seen. So if you don't have any money, stay with your craft, stay with the course, learn your skills, learn what you do well, and do it well every time you get an opportunity to do it. And just the word of mouth will do wonders for you.
Exactly. Yeah, man. Great advice. Sancio?
Yes, there's a question from Tanya Batson Savage. Tanya, I'm going to unmute your mic and you can go ahead and ask your question. Tanya, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Wonderful. Go ahead.
Hi. So there are ways in which parts of these questions you have dealt with, but I thought it would be interesting to focus a lens specifically on the current hotoclaps that we are facing, and ask if there are businesses who are attempting to pivot and still make some sales at this time, but not every business is able to do that. So one of the things I ask is, what would you recommend are the core things that a business can do to help maintain brand visibility or to strengthen relationships? Or what do you see as the core activities a brand should be focusing on if at this time they're not able to make sales?
Go ahead.
I can give you just some real life ones from a product standpoint right now. I was a lot slower than a lot of persons when it comes on to making masks, for instance, Tanya, because first of all, I wasn't sure that it was the recommended thing at the time. And I didn't want to put out something that wasn't functional or served a purpose. When we found out a way that it could be functional with filters and stuff, and it was actually a recommended thing to do, I personally felt more comfortable doing it. And when we set ourselves a target to make something that's not only functional, but something that looks good, that's when we actually went to market. So I think what we had to sit down and do was to look at our core competence. Maybe in this time, it actually highlighted more our core competence. We could say it's maybe making bags, but one of the core competencies that we have is actually being able to sew, right? And once you can sew, there are a range of things that you can sew, right? And so that's when we decided to change our energy. I mean, we closed down for 3 weeks and we were just going to throw in the towel and yes, and let's call it a day. But we still have staff to take care of, we still have bills to pay. And we decided that our theme for the rest of the 3 months is a show must go on. And we came up with some designs for the mask. We did 3 collections, right? We did prototyping for gowns as PPE. Now, we're not going to brand those as Bresheh products, the gowns, so to speak. But what we've realized is that there is an opportunity for a sub-brand or another company that's doing stuff for the healthcare sector locally. Huge opportunity if you look at it from that standpoint, you know? So we are seeing where coming out of this COVID experience, the company Bresheh will change. Maybe another sub-company or sub-brands will be started to focus on healthcare workers and things to feed into the health sector. I mean, we're seeing that, all right, you're taking the wipes into the vehicles when you wipe your hand and you wipe the steering wheel. Where do you put those when you're finished? Oh, but we can make trash bags for vehicles that look good in keeping with our brand, and they're purposeful and they're functional and they're helping you as a driver to stay organized and exposing you to you know, to less germs, you know. So we have to think in practical ways, and that's what we've been doing, basically saying, hey, the show must go on. Let's use our core competence and core skills and our creativity to find and come up with new products while being engaging on social media as well, in a nutshell.
So I shared on my social media platforms about 2 weeks ago, some key points that I think would be important for business. I'll go through them quickly. One, when it comes down to COVID and the situation that we're in now, we really can't control the situation. Yeah. The only thing that we can control is how we react to it. That is our superpower. So that's the first thing we have to recognize. COVID is happening outside of our control. So forget about our ability to dictate what happens there. But what we can control is what our reaction is going to be to it, and how do we ensure that the levers of that reaction are pulled in one way or another. The first thing that is important is to recognize that we're in a different cost environment. So as business owners, as entrepreneurs, you have to look at your cost drivers and reduce them very, very quickly in as much as you can. The second thing you have to do, though, is ask yourself, was I adding value before? Was I serving a market before? And if you can answer those questions in the affirmative, then stay with that course of action, because you were providing value. There's a need that exists that you were fulfilling. So I borrowed a phrase that I heard in a song that says, "Yeah, stay in your lane. You're not a minibus driver." So that is the thing. So as long as you identify that you're providing value, stay with it. And I don't mean that you can't pivot to something like Randy has indicated, but when you're pivoting, is it in line with your core values? Is it in line with, are you staying true to what you're doing? And having done that, and this thing is in line with your core values, then where you have to go from there is to commit to it. Commit to trying, commit to experimenting, commit to pivoting and learning from those experiences, and offering that. So those are the things that I would say, given COVID, what needs to happen. Control your costs, reduce your costs if you can, audit your inventory of value, and then ensure that you are staying the course in line with your value. Because as long as you can identify that, yeah, I was building my tribe, I was adding value to a segment, then you can pivot a little bit and stay in line with the core.
Yeah.
Marie, you want to add? In the meantime, what do you think, Marie? I think, Tanya, if I can rephrase your question, I think you're saying, how do you protect or maintain your brand value in this period, and how do you build, or how do you build your brand value in this period of COVID? Is
yes, that's pretty much what I was asking.
Right. So I think one of the things in terms of the maintenance part now, one of the things is to stay present in the minds of your customers. We need, even if in the first instance you're perhaps not selling them something, selling or gaining income from them in this period, because as Javette has pointed out, the cost structures have changed and people's priorities in the moment perhaps may have changed. So apart from pivoting and offering them new products and so on, an important thing for you to do is to remain present of mind, present in the minds of your customers. So if you have a brand and they know you for quality, they know you for the delivery of excellent products and so on, you need to maintain a contact with your customers for whatever way, through electronic means. Otherwise, I'm sure you have a client database. If you have a strong brand, that means that you would have a way to be in touch with your clients. Remain in touch with your clients. Talk to them about what you're doing in the period. Talk to them about how your story is developing. Talk to them about how it is that you're pivoting to face masks from Bresheh bags, for instance. Remain present in their minds at all times. That's important. In terms of building your brand, I mean, a number of the things that Marie mentioned and Javette mentioned are applicable for us to be doing in this period as well. If you think that your brand is not as strong as you would like it to be, and so now is the time to be able to build your brand. And you build your brand by creating your stories, creating your authentic stories, and connecting with your potential tribe, as Javette and Randy put it. But any other thoughts in this regard, Marie?
All right. I'm not sure what is the nature of the business that Tanya is involved in.
I think she's just asking in general for creatives.
Right. What I would say though is, as it trying to, even in this period, engage your customers or your clients. It's very important, as you would have said, to stay in touch with them. A lot of companies, what they do is, you may have your newsletters that you send out and so on, or if you haven't been doing that before, now is a good time to stay engaged. And a pretty easy way to do that for companies, which is really low cost, is to just create something with MailChimp and continue to stay in touch with the people who are important to you, your stakeholders, etc. It doesn't always have to
When people see that you're giving them value, it can be information that is relevant to what is happening now, but in some way ties your business to it and how your business can still help them. When people realize you're bringing value, they will not hesitate to continue spending with you or to bring in other people. One of the things I always say too is that there is always opportunity in adversity. So for example, you can find something to upsell. If it's not your core product that is selling right now, what about a spin-off that is relevant to what your clients need? Let me give you a quick example about this whole how to build your ministry online, that this idea came about. What I did was to offer that webinar free. So I advertised it, people signed up, there was no cost. So I'm giving you value, how to build your ministry online. And then when you come into that webinar, which is free, I share with you information as to how to get the thing done. But I share it with you in a way that I don't give you all of the details. If you want the details to apply to your business, my upsell is you hire me to coach you something, and you can still get something, but that something must be of added value.
Yeah, so in 10 seconds, Harold, if I can get it. Tanya, I know you're into books and publishing and stuff. Like one of the things that people are at home now and they have stories to write. I mean, blogging, you say 10 ways to write a book during COVID kind of a thing. I think that kind of content, how do you, like I'm doing now, how do you take care of your bags? Coming from home, in the car, at home, how do you store it away? How do you clean it? How do you, if people are reading books now at home, what should they do with it after? If they're, how do they clean it? How do they store it? That kind of a thing. But I think people could benefit from writing a book, the ABC of writing a book during COVID, or finish COVID with a brand new book, content that's relevant to them. I think you could recommend a book per week because people might need to read now, more stuff like that. And depending on the type of book and the age group that you're targeting, then you'll tailor the content accordingly. But I think you could do some good stuff in this season.
Create a course too. If that's the field that she's in, it's pretty easy to create a course, online that she can offer in regards to her industry. For example, something like write a book in 8 weeks, but it's an electronic book, so it's not hard to publish and circulate. People need that kind of information now for her industry. So those are the little things that you can look at, Tanya.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Tanya. Anyone?
All right, so there are no more questions. So I assume everybody was as clear as mud and the information was beautifully explained. Just want to say to everyone that I have posted the JBDC contact info in the chat. We are still available. We're still working. You can contact us via social media, which would be Facebook or Instagram, email at info@jbdc.net. We're also available by phone, 876-550-1167 or 876-414-3376.
All right, thank you, Sansia. And David, can you launch that last poll for me? Done and done. So all that's left for me to do is for us to ask you to complete this last poll for us, which gives us an idea. First of all, if you found this session useful, so that we can tailor it. I believe that the session is being recorded. So in due time, we will package it and share it with everybody. The last thing I want to leave you with before I thank my panelists is that to remind you that we are in fact doing some work in mapping the cultural and creative industries, and it's very important for us to participate in that activity, because one of the challenges that we have with our creative and cultural industries is data, and without proper data, we are unable to really and truly establish the value of the industry and establish the matrices that need to be worked out to invest in the matrix and what kind of returns and so on. In other words, without that, then it would be our recognition as creatives will not be as it ought to be. So what the last question asked whether or not you have completed our survey, which we have launched from in April, from March, and it will close sometime towards the end of April, just giving us critical information such that we can use now to package to negotiate policy positions and so on that are appropriate for the development and strengthening of the creative and cultural industries. So if you have not filled out the survey, David has dropped the link into the chat. Just click on it and please complete that survey. The information is critical, critical, critical. I can't say enough about that. So thank you to our panelists. Thank you so much, Javette. Thank you so, Javette, I call you Javette Center. Javette, thank you so much, Marie, and thank you so much, Randy, for being the panelist and for sharing such a wealth of information with us this morning into early afternoon. Thanks to Sansia and Suzette and David, who is our technology wizard behind the scenes, making sure that we all are current and on air, right? Come next week, same time, we'll have another session that's focused on creative and cultural industries. To remind you as well that we also have a running webinar on a Tuesday, and that is that's a general for all our MSME clients. And
on Tuesday, we'll be focusing on pivoting with research. The information for that will be sent out very shortly.
Great, 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 great. And next week, Thursday, the session will be on intellectual property protection and how it is that you leverage that and manage that and that type of thing. In other words, good stuff for us to strengthen our businesses in this period. Good stuff. So before I leave you, I want to remind you and pray that you keep safe. Don't worry about it. It too will pass, but we have to do our part as well to make sure that we flatten that curve. So if you now have nothing to do on the road, stay turn at your yard. I don't have to tell you that. I don't have to tell Randy that because Randy is in St. Catherine. But and be safe. Be safe. Take care of your family. Take care of your loved ones. Be safe in this period, and I want to thank you so much for joining us. All right, so have a great afternoon.
Blessings.
Bye, everybody.